is to follow up on recommendations from Dáil and Óg and to make those changes for young people in those areas. Our aim for 2012 and 2013 is to get young people to influence decision makers in the Dáil, the Seanad and the local authorities.
One of the highlights of 2012 was the National Showcase, which took place in Croke Park, where all 34 Comhairle had an opportunity to show off the projects that they had been doing over the years. It was really useful because there was key decision makers there like the Taoiseach and the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs and people in areas such as sexual health and mental health and youth facilities. So the Comhairle got to make lots of contacts that they could use for their projects.
The first thing that we decided was we had to increase the voice of young people in the Arrakis. So our first port of call was to entertain an Arrakis committee, or two Arrakis committees, on topics that we felt were important to the young people. The reaction that we got from senators and TDs at the presentations was very strong because a lot of them weren't aware of the facts that we brought to them and they were quite shocked by what they found, but also very supportive of what we were doing. The outcomes from the Arrakis presentations were mainly that the politicians took a much bigger interest in what we were doing. They were much more aware of what we were doing.
Another major achievement of the Comhairle and Óg National Executive was the Your Comhairle Needs You event. So that was a major achievement for us because we got 50 TDs and senators into the National Library where we met and talked to them about youth issues and about the work of Comhairle and Óg. It was such a success that it's now going to be an annual event, which means that each year members of the National Executive will have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with their local TD and senator.
After Your Comhairle Needs You, the Camcorder Sean Barrett, he showed amazing interest in it. So he got onto some of our coordinators and said, well, can we have a meeting with these guys? And we did. Well, basically what we want is young people to influence decision making in the Dáil and the Seanad.
Every year the National Executive will meet with the Camcorder when that has never happened before, so I think that's a really big part of our legacy. So our local action was to improve the cohesion between our National Executive and our local Comhairle, because the local Comhairle is equally as important as the National Executive. So we did this by making a presentation to every steering committee, and the presentation was about the work of the National Executive, and all of this enables the local Comhairle to engage better with local decision makers.
We have paved the way for future generations of Comhairle to work hand in hand with the Oireachtas and politicians in decision making.
So he decided that we should have 5 linked TDs in the House that could link between young people and the Dáil and the Seanad so that we'd have a fair voice. So for our next National Executive that are coming up, we have them to help link the Dáil and the National Executive together.
Well, in the last 2 years, I think I've definitely become more confident because in the National Executive you have to stand up and give your opinions and give your views and give feedback.
At 16, it's definitely opened up my eyes to a lot of topics and issues which I never would have even thought of before as a young person.
Life-changing